Hey, so that's Steve. Please like and subscribe. Please click on the Deck Heroes icon, click on subscribe. It's 100% free. Blood in, blood out. And don't forget to click on the notifications just so you don't miss any amazing content. This particular video is from a lady who knows her stuff, to be honest. Look at the top left, the channel's called Your Winger Man. Double Wing Mam. Yeah. I see what you did there. Anyway, why men are walking away from dating. Listen, I don't want to keep on doing videos which kind of play to the simp, beta, bullshit. You got to be some kind of, I don't, when I say alpha, I'm not talking about kind of like some giga chad. I'm just talking about taking charge of things. It was kind of retreat into their corners and say, okay, aren't I really good? You like, you weak piece of shit, man. No, we got to take a lead of this thing. You got to take a hold of it. Whatever you got to do. Maybe you got to do some effort. You know what I mean? Maybe you need to go to the gym. Maybe you need to work out, eat some good food, get your mind in the right place. Go on courses. I think there's Coach Carter. I say just one of many. Getting our houses in order. I say getting on top of your career and not kind of leaving that to, well, wonder why I can't do it. Now get yourself together, brother. Get your appearance together. Get your hygiene together. Get you smell good. You look good. Of course, like this, none of this is bad things. None of these are bad things. And I guess I get your conversation, your confidence up, and you will grow from it and you'll have a better life from it. So that's what I'm trying to convince you to do, not just retreat into the dark corners. You keep mentioning Lancelot, just thinking, I know what, Guinevere, man, no, you're just making it too hard for me. No, I'm good over, I'm good over here. No, anyway, let's go.
After reading tens of thousands of your comments over the years, I know there are a multitude of reasons why even the most desirable men are walking away from dating. It can be summed up with the juice ain't worth the squeeze. If you're a man, let me know which ones resonate. And if you're a woman who wants to attract and keep a good man, you may want to pay attention and make some personal adjustments to make sure your juice is worth it. If you're new to my channel, I help men decode modern women so they can find, attract, and keep their keeper, or simply have better relationships with women if they prefer to stay single. Welcome to Just the Tip. All right, let's do this. Jake will be our fictional man ready to go MGTOW. 1. Unrealistic expectations. If you watch any of the Red Pill channels, you'll probably have seen a panel of high-maintenance, low-value women listing off their must-haves. 6 feet tall, six-pack abs, and a minimum of a six-figure income, or a trust fund, your typical Chad. Now, the truth is, those women are selected for their clickbaitable audacity. Just like men perhaps secretly desire the perfect woman, a perfect 10 who's an angel in public and an OnlyFans in the bedroom, men can be happy with a decent woman who isn't perfect but who makes them feel good overall. However, though most women can be happy without a Chad, they have been brainwashed by both men and other women to think they should want them. And at the slightest sign of lack, they look for excuses to dismiss a good man who might actually be the perfect fit for them. Key point. While some women are setting up OnlyFans accounts, most women aren't pushing the angel OF ideal. There's a reason. More on that in a minute. Example. Jake went on several dates where he felt that the woman he had met, long requirements checklist. One date ended rather abruptly when he mentioned he didn't have a six-figure salary yet. Many men feel pressured by unrealistic expectations, leading to feelings of inadequacy and frustration. Unfortunately, some men have unknowingly encouraged women's expectations by constantly saying that's what we all want. If you say something loud enough and long enough, people start to believe it. Women instinctively know this. That is why women's body positivity started. Ladies and gentlemen need to stop telling women they want the perfect man and start acknowledging that kindness, loyalty, and reliability, along with shared values, compatible beliefs, and goals, are what we all truly need. 2. Past negative experiences. A lot of men have.
Okay, so before we move on to that, yeah, unrealistic expectations. Yeah, and on these kind of YouTube channels, that's not going to be the only thing. It's going to be lived experience as well. But anyway, on the YouTube channels, women are selected particularly. A lot of them are only fans, you know what I mean, and things like that. So they're not the trash, basically trash. Not every single one, but they're there just to kind of have clicks to generate attention. You know what I mean, to draw you in with the eyes. And it's no surprise that the look at me people kind of say bullshit things in order to get people to kind of be talking about them, but the content is just bullshit. So there is that. But as I said, yeah, in the lived experience, yeah, possibly a lot of men find themselves being dismissed for trivial reasons. Um, and you can't get past that. Things are a numbers game. So if somebody's about the bullshit and they're going to dismiss you on some real crap, I know different videos mentioned about people being dismissed because they're not the right star sign. It's like, oh my gosh, how stupid and basic are you? You're not missing out. Sometimes it feels like a hit and it's actually a win. She's actually played her cards and showed herself to be a clown. So you can go out there and just not waste any time, resources on her, and try and find your queen out there. Simple as that. And she made it a point that some of these kind of women's egos are kind of flattered by men's male simps, which kind of like normalizes it and makes it worse for everybody else. Listen, in my mind as a man, we can't be worried about the next guy. Yes, there's going to be simps out there, and guess what? They have their little bit of time. They end up being in the friend zone. They're not to be worried about. But if you're going to be dismissed for now, and you maintain your integrity, and these simps, once you get tired of the simps, man, you can still be cracking on with your life. And if you really are still bothered, at some point she's going to be turning around and coming for you. You crack on with your life and don't go with the time wasters. Here we go. So anyway, the next one is past negative experiences. Let's go.
With shared values, compatible beliefs, and goals are what we all truly need. 2, past negative experiences. A lot of men have had bad experiences with women, whether they missed the red flags that were there, ignored them, or were masterfully manipulated. Past negative experiences can tarnish their outlook on all women. The unfortunate part is those men often actually don't trust themselves to see the flags or to throw back a throwback when she displays them, because he might believe that's all he can get. Example, after a painful breakup where Jake's girlfriend cheated on him, he found it difficult to trust women again. He decided to take a break from dating and heal to focus on himself. Past negative experiences can leave lasting scars, causing men to step back from dating to avoid further hurt. So ladies need to understand that just like we have psychological self-defense mechanisms to protect ourselves, so do men. Practice gentle understanding. It costs nothing but is a priceless gift. 3, financial burden. Even though there are more.
Okay, yeah. So there's going to be in relation to past negative experiences. Yeah, of course. Listen, and I said it in other videos from like teenage years, and men have got a lead on chatting people up, and not everybody's going to chat. Not everybody's going to say yes, and they may not even say no in a very respectful way. You know what I mean? It may well be very disrespectful, intentionally disrespectful, and designed to kind of embarrass you. You know what? You take those things on as a kid, or as a young man, or as a man, and you just take it on and you crack on. Welcome to the world of men. You know what I mean? So you just gotta have that objective view on things. We're built for the objectivity. If you've been raised in subjectivity or an emotional brain, which is usually going to be by, if you're in a single parent situation, it's not normally the man, then you got to look for those examples, and you're going to need to build that kind of fortitude about yourself. But this is the easy part. If you're just saying hello to somebody to see if they want to say hello back, or if they can have a two-way conversation, and that's too much. And I understand about putting yourself on an emotional roller coaster, but you also need to understand objectively as a man, if you had a male role model as a child, you've got to take yourself off that roller coaster and again just see it for what it is. You're saying hello. Nobody cares if she doesn't say hello back. Who cares? Keep that there. So I know you can get emotionally involved. Withdraw yourself. Withdraw yourself and see it for what it is. Before you go into it, see it for what it is. You're saying hello. And then if it goes on from there, maybe a few more words. It's not a big thing. She also mentioned about some men taking a break from dating. Yeah, and that was it MGTOW or whatever it is. Listen, again, I'm not into that. I'm not into that at all. I'm not into encouraging it in what way, so in any way whatsoever. And I know I could get more kind of viewers, and I know I could get more kind of subscribers just to play to all that bullshit. Listen, I'm all about just learning from your mistakes and finding out what pattern, even if it takes some effort, even if it takes going to the gym, even if it takes kind of working on your social skills, how you're going to talk to somebody and structure a conversation, then you've got to do it. And one of the comments, and a really easy one, and I'm going to do a video which kind of drills down. I want to give you some gold right now, and it's just the easy, basic stuff. If you approach somebody enough, there's certain general types of conversations that you're going to be getting into, right? What have you been up to recently? Now, just think in an interesting way what you've been up to interesting. What made you smile about it? What made you laugh about it? What did you do which was kind of laugh worthy? Or what was the situation? And just say in as few words as possible if you're going to talk at all. And maybe you, without sending your friends down the river, say, oh yeah, and he came along, and wouldn't you know it, man, he didn't tell me that my ex was round the corner. You got a punchline there, you know what I mean? You got to be a good storyteller, basically. You're not talking about bullshit, but you're talking about actual facts. Maybe you got on a good holiday recently and just flesh it out in exactly the same way. You see where I'm going with this? Flesh out your experiences, get them front of mind so you can go into a conversation with confidence about the normal areas where a conversation goes, and in your mind make an interesting conversation. But when you're chatting up somebody, they're not looking to hear about us as men. we're looking to hear from them as women and express that interest. So you got to be asking them conversations. And if there's a lull, you're going to be agreeing with her basically as well. And if there's red flags, you got to think about, well, actually, maybe this person isn't for me and potentially walk away. Most of the time, we don't do it. We'll just overlook it because we just want to get this over the line. But if there's a lull in the conversation, okay, and she just kind of reaches a point where then you may relate it to your own experience and give that brief example of a story, and then hopefully you can try and bounce it back. Well, what did you do in that situation? Or have you ever been in that situation yourself? You just generating, and I say Coach Carl has got lots of other techniques about how you can take one topic and just make it something bigger. What I'm worried about with the, not specifically Coach Carl, but what, that kind of like scattergram approach to a conversation, it can be just lots of bits of bullshit. But it's say if you actually of a given level of
Women and men in
intelligence,
post-ed nowadays, and many
there is a thread of conversation basically in a logical line of conversation, which can also be humorous. And they say it's mainly going to be focused on her, and she should be doing most of the talking. And if she bounces it back to you and she shows those kind of conversational skills, my gosh, you may have well just found your queen. But 99% of them are just going to love that indulgence. You're just giving them opportunities to talk. Anyway, this next one, financial burden. Let's go.
are making a lot of money, most women want a man to make at least as much as they do. However, supply and demand mean those men are in short supply and have plenty of options. Even a good man may not feel like busting his balls on a date to an entitled princess or provide a lifestyle that reaches beyond his income. Example, Jake noticed he was spending a significant portion of his income on dates and gifts trying to maintain a lifestyle to impress his dates. He felt financially drained and decided it wasn't sustainable. The financial burden of dating can be overwhelming, leading some men to prioritize financial stability over romantic pursuits, with some fellas choosing to rent instead of buy or shop abroad where their money goes further. Ladies must realize wealthy men have plenty of options, even if some of those options are gold diggers. If you have embraced the bounty of breaking the glass ceiling, you may need to adjust your financial expectations of men and consider other high-value traits like financial responsibility. 4, lack of appreciation.
Right. There's lots. Again, this is somebody who does not. She's right. She's right, but she does not have the lived experience, so she can't possibly know. She's talking about kind of okay. So women want men of a given financial level. This is true. This is true. A lot of them, or most of them, do, and they've got to earn exactly the same, or more or less, or more. Really, you know what I mean? Just depends on these expectations that this person, this woman's going to have of this other person, this man that she doesn't even know. So anyway, you've got to be ambitious in yourself. Just accept it. And at some point, you are going to have to be provided just logically, because if she's having a kid, then what's she going to do? Go to work just straight after? It's going to be you who has to maintain that lifestyle, and that's just our role in life. So accept it. Um, but on the other side, you don't want to spend that pot of money or the money to get you to that point on some bullshit trinkets for her, for some stranger that you don't even know. But you do have to express some interest. The way to handle it, and that's just a very quick story. One of my old good friends, I don't hang around with him anymore, but he used to keep on taking women to expensive restaurants and then moaning when they ordered something. I think he was just taking them there for show, but really only wanted to go there for drinks. And then obviously, fair enough to the ladies. Well, why don't we eat while we're here? You know what I mean? It's like, well, why would you take him to a restaurant anyway? So basically, don't shoot yourself in the foot, but you can take it another level. Go to somewhere which looks like a decent place, which looks like a nice place. It's not a flaming KFC or something like that, or something which is established bullshit high street chain necessarily. First date, it shouldn't really matter. Maybe it does. You go somewhere else which is reasonably priced. You're actually going to do some research. It looks nice on the surface, and you can have a reasonably priced date. But before that, really, you should be aiming for a coffee date just to have an hour kind of no pressure conversation each way and see if it's going anywhere else and see where her interests are at. And as I say, if you take it upon yourself, like my friend did, to take her to somewhere high end and she hasn't even mentioned it, then that's on you. And you just need to probably do a little bit more research about somewhere which is reasonable that you can take her, which hopefully will be acceptable to her. But if her expectations are above your income, she's not for you. It's not realistic, and it's an opportunity missed for her because she's against the body clock. Yeah, and she also mentioned about going abroad and getting your passport out, and that's in the extreme situation. I can't see a situation where somebody in their 20s or even their 30s as a man would necessarily need to do it, but I've seen the videos and there are examples of people doing it. Just maybe they're just ready for a relationship, and again, they literally haven't found it in the home country. It's still an extreme thing to do, though, and you are still going into the unknown, and there's no guarantee that that person you meet over there is a 100% legit. So, yeah, it's one of those things that would be on the table for me potentially if I was looking, but yeah, I would need a very, very, very strong reason, and I do believe that men can find who they're looking for within a home country. I say I'm in London. If you're going to go to the clubs aren't the clubs anymore, but clubs aren't normally the place to meet people. You might not necessarily bump into somebody at the grocery store. You might not necessarily bump into them on the street on the way to work, but then again, you might, and you've got to be proactive. And if you're actively choosing not to be proactive, then that's on you. You know what I mean? So if you see somebody cute and you can't even say hello and you go, boy, oh, that happened again. That's on you, brother. That's not on her because it's our role to make that first move. And you got to broaden things out. What do women generally like to do? They like to go for brunch and things like that. So get your boys out a little bit earlier than normal and just go for brunch. And if you see somebody, maybe you got to be brave enough just to, again, just say hello and have a smile and have a bit of confidence about you. But that's going to come from the other elements that lead into that about going to the gym and looking after your health and looking after your personal appearance and being able to smile and have that kind of confidence about you go forward. So all that stuff. Anyway, let's go. What's next? Lack of appreciation.
Unlike many moons ago, now women can do pretty much everything for themselves or hire someone who can. How many times have we heard a woman say, I don't need no man? Well, I'll tell you, many times, too many. If a man isn't needed, it's difficult to appreciate him. No one thrives in a relationship where they feel they can be easily replaced or discarded. Example, Jake frequently planned thoughtful dates and went out of his way for his dates, but rarely received even a tepid thank you, never mind any kind of reciprocation effort, and he felt rarely appreciated, but instead taken for granted. Feeling unappreciated can be very discouraging. Men, like everyone else, need to feel valued in a relationship. Ladies, you can practice appreciating the men in your lives. Show at least as much appreciation to a generous man as you would to your best friend. 5, focus on personal goals. Some men...
Before we move on that, as a man in his 40s, I'm going to say, listen, if you do something nice for somebody every single day or every single week, it just becomes expected. It just becomes expected most of the time. Most of the time. And this is why the kind of the myth that bad boys do better. You don't have to be bad. You just need to not get to the point where it's, well, yeah, I expect it. Say, for example, say if you bought her a rose every single day. You know what I mean? The first day, maybe first, second, or third day, maybe she really appreciates it, and after a while, it's just an expectation. And some of those days, she didn't even want the rose. It's probably going to be annoying to get it. You know what I mean? Say if it was every other day. Okay, still similar. It's every week, similar but less so. Every so often, then it becomes every so often. Oh, yeah, it's kind of still quaint. Yeah. I don't know why I didn't get one in the last couple of weeks, but I've got one now. Oh, that's quite sweet. Yeah, you got to just judge it. You know, you don't want to do things that lead to an entitlement that she thinks she deserves to get it, even though you're doing something above and beyond, and you might not even be getting anything in return. Who knows? Mind blown.
Have a lot on their plates and don't want the distraction that can inevitably come from dating and relationships. Whether they're young and want to get ahead in life or are older and licking their wounds trying to rebuild a life, sometimes the smartest thing to do is to go solo for a while or maybe even forever. Example, Jake is a high achiever in everything he does and passionate about his career and personal growth. He found that the immense effort he put into dating often distracted him from his goals, so he decided to focus on his professional and personal development instead. Many men are choosing to prioritize their individual goals and ambitions over dating, finding fulfillment in their careers and hobbies. Ladies must accept that in order to enter a man's life who has a lot on the go, she needs to be an asset, not a liability. Make his life easier by being in it. 6, fear of commitment. There's no shortage.
Yeah, I think there's definitely something to that. I think there's a lot of excuses that go into it, but there's also some kind of valid arguments. But I think beyond that, really as a man, again, you just got to set your boundaries. You got to set your boundaries. I do not believe that there's not a little bit of money each week that you can put towards kind of meeting somebody. You don't always have to go on an expensive date. You know what I mean? You could just do something nice. Maybe you just kind of put in the foundations, and this is the magic trick bit, where you kind of say at some point, listen, I do believe I'm a traditional man in some sense that, you know, for at least making some effort at the start and just trying to show you how much I like you, and I most definitely do. But there is a point where I do like it to become more 50-50. And if she's gone, really don't worry about it. Really don't worry about it. Or you might want to time it if you made that initial investment. You want to be more kind of cynical about it until you've got exactly what you're looking for from it. You know, a little bit of that. And then kind of that, listen, we need to kind of change things up. That's two different ways of going about the same goal. But anyway, what's the next one? Fear of commitment. Let's go.
Relationship horror stories, many ending with the man losing his shirt, his house, his kids, some kids over there, or even worse. With a divorce rate over 50% and over 85% of divorces initiated by women, no wonder men fear commitment. Even living together can be a trap. Example, Jake has seen many of his friends go through messy divorces. The fear of a similar fate made him wary of committing to a serious relationship, so he opted to stay single. The fear of commitment, fueled by observing adverse outcomes in others' relationships, can lead men to avoid dating altogether. Women must acknowledge the truth in the stats. Though it can happen, reality shows that few women are losing their homes and paying palimony. Want to be a real keeper? Offer a prenup from the get-go. It can actually protect both of you. 7, cultural and societal pressures. We live in a world...
Again, I don't want to go down that route of excuses because as men, listen, we're in charge of things. So we can't say that, yeah, fair enough. We can't say that we're aware of all these things, but we're going to make it happen anyway, so it affects us. But if you're going to go into it with somebody and just never ask them to, put a ring on it, basically, or you never literally put a ring on it, fair enough. And then that's their issue to think about. You know what I mean? Don't make their issue our issue. That's as simple as that. Anyway, let's go forward.
Where every culture and society has its own set of expectations about relationships, marriage, and the roles men and women play. These pressures can be overwhelming, particularly for men who are caught between what they want and what they think they should want. Whether it's the pressure to marry by a certain age or expectations around providing financially or the stigma of being single, these societal norms can weigh heavily on a man's mind. Some cultures have even more rigid expectations, like needing to marry within a certain community or following specific traditions that don't align with personal desires. When the pressure to conform feels too heavy, it may simply be easier to step away from dating altogether than to risk failing in the eyes of society or family. Example, Jake comes from a culture with strict expectations about marriage and relationships. The pressure to conform led him to step back from dating, feeling that he simply couldn't meet his own desires and society's expectations. Cultural and societal pressures can make dating feel like a daunting task, leading some men to simply walk away to avoid conflict and stress. Ladies, if you want to keep him around, let him know you're looking for a relationship based on mutual understanding, not societal approval. If you can, ditch the cultural rulebook or at least try to navigate it together. 8, mental health concerns.
Just think, we're in the West. We're in the West. I'm from Western culture, like a Caribbean English culture. There's no pressure on a man to get married at all. On the English and Welsh side, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I mean, I think we are raised that maybe will be the ideal of a relationship or ideal of the couple, the end goal, I guess. There's nobody that's forcing anybody down that line in the West. I don't believe it. It's just bullshit. So we can't. But we're not. Listen, in my channel anyway, I'm not talking to the niche. I'm not talking to the niche. They've got to work out their own things, and maybe there's going to be other channels which kind of go into all of that. But for the majority, just really doesn't apply, in my point of view. There you go. Mental health concerns. Anyway, let's go.
Big. Stress, anxiety, depression, ADHD, ASD, OCD, PTSD. There are a multitude of mental health conditions that can make dating and relationships confusing, overwhelming, and frustrating. Whether it's not being able to read body language or not be able to make eye contact or simply requiring more energy than a man has, the effort required for dating can be exhausting, and some men are bowing out. Example, Jake struggled with anxiety and depression. The added stress of dating exacerbated his mental health issues, so he chose to focus on his well-being before re-entering the dating scene. Men increasingly recognize the importance of mental well-being and may step back from dating to try to focus more on self-care. Ladies need to practice gentle compassion with men. It's a tough world out there for them right now. Women have been making great strides forward, while many of our men are falling behind. That is not my kind of equality. 9, changing a relationship.
Yeah, most definitely. If for any reason, including mental health, somebody's not ready for a relationship, work on self first. Work on self. You're not going to find that answer from some random stranger. You know what I mean? If somebody's not, you're not going to find that from your partner necessarily, unless they're absolutely specialized mental health trained. And sometimes you need somebody with more of an objective touch, most of the time. So yeah, fix self first, and then if you're not ready for the dating market, don't go in it. And yeah, go from there. All is good.
Dynamics. In much of the developed world, feminism has brought with it a new attitude about relationships. Women who don't want a traditional relationship don't have to have one. They can support themselves and have kids by themselves. Well, this leaves a lot of men wondering where they fit into the romantic relationship model, or simply deciding to commit to not committing. Example, Jake noticed the shift in how many of the women he dated viewed relationships, many emphasizing casual connections rather than long-term commitments. It was difficult for him to find a woman that he was attracted to who had similar values. Changing relationship dynamics with a trend towards casual connections can make it difficult for men who are seeking long-term commitment. Ladies who want a long-term relationship should be very much more selective of who they have sex with. Promiscuity is not a top must-have for most men looking for love. Sorry, but true. 10, desire for independence.
Wow, that's interesting. I think she's trying to say women are going out there looking for short-term connections, and the men are looking for long-term connections. Is that what she was saying? I'm pretty sure. I mean, Listen, I've seen a lot of channels where people are talking about that isolation. You know what I mean? If they could dip in and dip out with somebody with a non-committal, non-expectations, short-term relationship, I think most guys would be all right with that. You know what I mean? Just kind of go down to the lodge, walk the dogs, in the outland or whatever it is, and come back, make your own meal. Don't have to fit into anybody else's bubble. Then have this little short-term thing with somebody else. You don't need to heavily invest in. That'd be great. But I don't think that's generally the norm. Unless she's talking about women above that kind of body clock age, maybe. But even then, I don't know. Sometimes they double down. In my experience, anyway. Don't know what she means. Interesting. Never heard anybody say that before, like in my real life or online. Fair enough, I guess. Last one. Desire for independence. Let's go.
Some men and women can't be bothered with the effort required to find, attract, and keep a keeper. It's not only a lot of work just to get one good one, but then there's the ongoing maintenance. Every good relationship takes a lot of effort. There's a saying that men believe the work is over when he gets married or gets into a serious relationship, while women think the work is just beginning. Just like going to the gym is how you maintain a fit body, relationships require ongoing effort. Some people are content on their own without the added work. Example, Jake values his independence and enjoys his solo pursuits. He finds that dating requires just too much effort and often compromises his freedom. He was happy being single and so decided to remain single to maintain his lifestyle. The desire for independence and the freedom to live on one's own terms is powerful, and why some men are walking away from dating. Ladies need to understand that if they want a good relationship, appreciating and rewarding good behavior gets more of it than punishing bad behavior. Never nag. Walking away from dating is a personal choice influenced by many factors, from past experiences to individual goals and mental health. Noisy Trap. It's essential to respect your own desires and understand that everyone's journey is different. It's okay to go the solo path. In fact, you're better off single than sorry. Now, if this video resonated with you, please give it a like and consider subscribing. And share your thoughts in...
Okay, so dating too much effort. Yeah, maybe. I mean, listen, if you're not ready for something, you just wouldn't do it. I've seen this woman do better videos than this. I can't help but feel there's a little bit of overlap and something that we discussed earlier. I think, to be honest, I think she could have condensed this list down. I think it was just a list of things in order to kind of generate content and things like that. That's my guess as somebody I definitely respect as a YouTuber and does have a lot of good and valuable things to say. But anyway, I hope you guys found something from it. And again, the channel is Your Wing Mam. MAM. Fascinating. All is good. Please like, subscribe. That is Stephen. I am out.